Hey everyone, I'm Chef Tom with All Things Barbecue, and today we're making grilled lobster tails with a smoked compound butter and a beer butter dipping sauce. Now before I get started on the lobster, I want to go ahead and do a cold smoke on our butter that we're going to be using for our compound butter and our beer butter sauce. Now we're using a European style butter today for its higher fat content and richer flavor. And this is a process that you want to start about 3 days before you're ready to actually use the butter. So I'm going to show you how to get this started, but I've already got a batch that's waiting for us to use today. All right, so we're starting with our amazing smoke tube. It's filled with cherry pellets today. We're just going to hit it with the torch to get it smoking. We'll go ahead and close the lid and let the flame burn out on its own, and then all we're left with is the smoke with very little heat. All right, we're gonna flip the switch on our Yoder Smoker's pellet grill, but we're not gonna hit the start button. So what that does for us is it gives us a draft because the fan is running now, but we're not producing any heat. This way the smoke moves right through the chamber and never gets stagnant, and you don't end up with that bitter taste on your food. So go ahead and put our butter down on this frog mat to keep everything nice and clean. And since butter is a bit more delicate than like cheese, I'm gonna add some ice water to the bottom just to keep the temperature down inside the chamber. All right, we're gonna give this a couple hours to take on some smoke. In the meantime, we'll go get started on our lobster and on our butters, and I'll show you what this butter is gonna look like here in a few days. Now, when this butter first comes out of the smoking chamber, the smoke flavor on it is gonna be really harsh. So what we want to do is cool it down, vac it up, and stick it in the fridge for about 3 days to let that smoke flavor mellow out a little bit. We're simply going to take some room temperature butter, a little garlic, a little steak seasoning, in this case we're using the Cattleman's Tri-Tip, and some lemon zest. All right, and then we're gonna put our butter down kind of in a log shape on a piece of plastic wrap. And we'll roll the plastic wrap around the butter. All right, so we wanna slice pats out of this to put on top of the lobster, so I'm gonna go stick it in the fridge to set up. All right, we've got our lobster tails here. And there's a number of ways to prepare these. So what I want to do today is come right down the center of the tail from the top. And I'm going to cut all the way down to the bottom, but not through the bottom. So what this allows me to do is to open this guy up and expose the flesh. But we also have the shell that's going to be able to hold the juices and the butter when we get the butter on there later. Now you could also do this part with kitchen shears if you're more comfortable with that, and then go ahead and use a knife to cut through the flesh. Some folks just pop this all the way through and you've got two separate halves, but what you'll find is you'll have a hard time getting it to sit upright after you are done grilling the flesh side. Now another option you have at this point is you can try and get underneath this flesh to where the shell is and loosen that up just a little bit to allow that butter to work its way all the way around it. But you do want to leave it attached down here so that you don't lose the flesh when you're actually grilling it in the shell. We are going to season these very simply today. Just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. I really want our lobster tails and our beer butter dipping sauce to get done at about the same time, so I'm going to hold off for a few minutes on putting these lobster tails on the grill while we get started on the sauce. Let me tell you a little bit about where we're headed with this sauce. So this is kind of a play on the French sauce beurre blanc, but today we're going to be using beer instead of wine, although we are still going to have an emulsified butter sauce in the end. We've also taken some liberties with some of the aromatics. And the technique involved is much the same, the technique of making an emulsified butter sauce. We're going to start with 2 cups of beer. And this is a really awesome sour from our friends over at Central Standard Brewing here in Wichita. And to our beer, we're gonna add some garlic, some thyme, and some shallots. We also need a little cream to help us get this started. We'll put half a cup of cream. And you guys can use whatever kind of beer you want at home. This beer is really, really great for what we're doing today because it's got some citrus flavors going on. It's got a little bit of sourness to it, which we also find in Beurre Blanc with the vinegar that's added. And what we're gonna do is just bring this mixture to a simmer and allow it to reduce. We're actually gonna take this till it's almost all the way reduced, which is going to really concentrate all these flavors. All right, so while we let this reduce, let's head over to the grill and throw our lobster tails on. We're running a very familiar setup for direct grilling today on a Yoder Smokers YS640 pellet grill. We've got the diffuser out and the grill grates in so that we can get the best color possible on the flesh of the lobster. And we're running our grill today at 450 degrees. Our compound butter is actually gonna go on top of the lobster tails while they're on the grill. And it's a super easy way to add extra flavor to the dish. All right, so we have this reduced down. You can see it's getting nice and thick. The bubbles get bigger and bigger as it reduces. And this is almost turning into a gravy now. So before it starts to brown anymore, we want to get it out of here and strain the solids out to finish the sauce. All right, so we'll work the liquids out of there. We can get rid of the solids. We're also going to wipe out our pan so we don't have any solids left in there. All right, so there's all that concentrated flavor. And now it's time to add our butter. Now we're working low heat now. We don't want to go too hot. We want to gently melt the butter, just a couple of cubes at a time. And this is slowly going to emulsify into this sauce and give us a nice creamy consistency. All right, see these ones right on top of the flame are getting some good color. So we're gonna move those out of the way and make sure that all of these tails get good color on them. And these are about ready to flip over and hit with some butter. All right, now to finish these lobster tails off, we're gonna flip them over and let a little bit of our compound butter melt over these. All right, so as these come up to about 140 degrees, they're gonna be all the way done. You'll see the flesh has turned nice opaque color. It's another good indicator. So we're just gonna set these off to the side, let this butter continue to melt over the top of it. Now this can be a bit of a tedious process, but as you get more butter incorporated, you can add a little bit more at a time. Well, all of our butter is incorporated. This is looking really creamy, really beautiful. We just need to have a taste and make any adjustments to our seasonings. Okay, a little bit of salt's really gonna waken that up nice. And we'll do a little black pepper as well. So at this point, you really wanna be careful not to get it too hot or too cool because it will break and the oil will separate. That's why it's best to do this right before you're ready to serve. So we have a little color from the grill. We've got that savory butter that we put over the top. And then our sort of sweet and sour beer sauce. I'm just gonna dive right in. Wow. That all complements each other really nicely. Super creamy and rich from that butter. The flavors are fantastic. The texture on the outside is really great. This is really one of my new favorites, which is why I was stoked to share it with you guys. So I hope that you'll check it out and let me know if you feel the same. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click the subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to thesauce.atbbq.com. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.